The Zen Doctor with Dr. Stephen Simpson.
Hi, my name is Dr. Steve Simpson and I'm an elite performance coach. That means I work with people just like you because I'm convinced that every single person is capable of raising their game to at least the next level. Thanks, of course, for finding my podcast channel. In the last episode, I talked about spirituality and how important it will be for us if we wish to be a little more psychoic. I'll do my best to explain why and how these two topics could be linked. In the unlikely event you've forgotten my definition of the word psychoic, it's the sweet spot between the psychic and the psychotic states of mind and the home of peak performance. It's also the Zen state of mind where people are relaxed and good things happen. Now's the time to bring the big guns out and introduce my favourite psychologist, and his name is Carl Jung. He was a student of Freud until they went their separate ways. Jung was born in Switzerland in 1875 and died in 1961. As you know by now, I talk and write a lot about luck. Until recently, I would use the words coincidence, chance, serendipity, and synchronicity randomly as an alternative to the word luck. I'm pretty sure that these varieties of luck have occurred to you at least once in your life, and probably a lot more. An example would be going on holiday to the other side of the world and bumping into a long-lost friend in a shopping mall. It certainly happened to me on several occasions, and I'd be interested to know if you've had the same experience. Now, I know that synchronicity is far more important than just a word. It's a whole philosophy. Carl Jung was fascinated by meaningful coincidences and described them as synchronicity. In other words, these coincidences were not due to random chance, and nor do we live in a random universe. Jung was not the only person with these views, and Albert Einstein and Wolfgang Pauli in particular were frequent guests at his dinner table. Both of these scientists were Nobel Prize winners and took his work seriously, and for this reason, if for no other, we should do too. Jung's work is at least as popular now as when he was alive. A synchronicity in my life is that Synchronicity is the title of an album by the rock band Police, and Sting is featured on the cover holding one of Jung's many publications in his hands. When I was a medical student, which was quite a few years ago, I also worked part-time in the radio and music industry to help pay my bills. Without going into too much embarrassing detail, I was asked whether I would consider a junior management job with a group of youngsters who had got together to bash out some music. They gave no hint of the stardom that was to follow. I turned down the job reluctantly because I would not have been able to combine it with my medical studies, the gigs I covered during the week, and my Sunday afternoon radio slot. The band, as you might have guessed, was Police, and I just wonder how my life would have changed had I made a different decision. Well, we'll never know that, just like so many other things we'll never know. Nostalgia's not what it used to be, so now it's time to return to Jung and synchronicity. Jung was a prodigious writer and researcher and was also fascinated by the paranormal. He felt that synchronicity could explain the unexplainable. Through his conversations with Einstein and Pauli, he was familiar with the concepts of relativity and quantum physics. They all knew, as did others, that these two theories were mutually exclusive. If you believe in one theory, the other theory cannot be correct, and this has remained so to the present day. Jung's proposition to square this circle was that synchronicity could be explained in his words as a falling together in time. Make of this sentence what you will. Pauli continued to work with Jung, and their overarching conclusion was that life was not a series of random events, but evidence of a deeper order to life. Jung regarded synchronicity as a spiritual awakening and part of this deeper order. From the psychological perspective, this concept shifts our thinking away from the overinflated opinions of the ego to the far deeper understandings that surface from a spiritual awakening. So this is a further link to the previous 2 episodes, which stressed the importance of spirituality to developing the Zen mind state. While Einstein was far from convinced by Jung's arguments, he still left his thoughts open to, in his words, spooky action at a distance. Interestingly, though, he also believed that we do not live in a random universe either. He felt that all events are predetermined, and these unorthodox beliefs, at that time, eventually led to his excommunication from his Jewish religion. So we already have enough future episodes planned for this channel, but to those of you who are interested to know more about the origin of Einstein's controversial thoughts on predetermination and spirituality, you could do worse than research the work of Baruch Spinoza, also known as the Prince of Philosophers. Jung's belief that we do not live in a random universe and his concept of synchronicity attracted considerable interest, including much criticism. He must have expected this, because although he wrote his paper in 1920, he did not present his findings in public until 1951, and eventually published it in 1952. In the next episode, I'll share more thoughts with you about another one of Jung's concepts called the process of individuation. Until then, have a great week, work on developing your Zen mind state, and do not be surprised if you recognize a few synchronicities surfacing. As Jung said, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see.
If you have enjoyed the Zen Doctor with Dr. Stephen Simpson, then why not hit the subscribe button? The music, The Soul of the Shaman, was specially composed for the Zen Doctor.
To find out more, go to drstephensimpson.com.